Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of The Jamie Hughes Show. My name as always is Jamie Hughes and today I'm going to be giving you my review of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Now if you want to keep up to date with all the latest movie news and reviews, then make sure you hit that subscribe button. And as always in my videos, this review may include spoilers, so you have now been warned. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is a visual masterpiece. It has a great story also to accompany that, and although I'm not like the most well-versed in Spider-Man lore and kind of the lineage of the Spider-Man multiverse, I guess it is, I still really enjoyed this movie. This movie's getting a lot of hype and a lot of really positive reviews, and it definitely deserves them. And one of my favourite things about Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is its visual style, and the animation in this movie is absolutely incredible. It's like something I've never seen before. Like very early on it felt to me very similar to the Telltale Walking Dead animation style. Like it looked very similar to that, but it almost just feels like it changes halfway through and you don't even notice, and it was just so fluid, so stunning. It just worked so well, and it's so visually striking, this movie. It's just so beautifully like crafted. I just can't like hype up how amazing this movie looks. And one of my favorite things about this movie is obviously like it complements the animation style well, are the action sequences and the fight scenes in Into the Spider-Verse. They are just so grand and just these huge like artistic pieces. You just get lost in them. There's loads of stuff going on. There's nods to like old-fashioned comic strip stuff going on, while all this new like crazy animation is going on as well, and it just looks wonderful. And I seriously cannot hype up how beautiful and stunning this film really does look. But it's not just like a beautiful film visually. This story has a lot of heart and a lot of soul in it, and to be honest with you, I was really kind of taken aback by how much of an emotional like just depth this story had to it as well, and I really enjoyed that. Don't get me wrong, it has a lot of fun with itself as well, but there is a really strong emotional depth to this movie as well, and I thought that really worked well, driving Miles Morales' origin story forward. And obviously another thing that's really great about this movie now, not to embarrass myself here, but I'm not, as I just mentioned, I'm not really up on like Spider-Man lore and kind of the backstory of these multiverses with Spider-Man, but I really enjoyed the additional Spider-Men and women that we got in this story. I really like the Gwen Stacy twist. Spider-Ham completely stole the show. I think Peter Porker is without a doubt the best pun in movie and comic book history. I absolutely loved it. I wasn't the biggest fan of the Penny Parker story with the spider and the robot. I didn't really feel like it fit for me, but it was fine, but it just didn't really fit. It was the weakest of the additional Spider-Men that we got. Spider-Man Noir was like incredible. If nothing else, all I want to see coming out of this movie now is I want to see a standalone Spider-Man Noir movie. I really hope they can like get Nick Cage on board to reprise his role with that. I thought the alternative universe Peter Parker again had a lot of depth to it. It was a really great performance by Jake Johnson. I thought he really blended like the line between comedy and tragedy really well with his Spider-Man, and more specifically Peter Parker. And again, as I mentioned, the Miles Morales origin story is a really great story, and it's really powerful and emotional. There are, I don't want to spoil too much, but there are a few moments in this movie where it really it just feels like a gut punch, and it comes out of nowhere. And again, that is what's so exciting about this movie, is that it's fresh, it's exciting, it takes you on these twists and turns. Yeah, it just doesn't feel like your bod standard animated movie. It feels like a lot of love and care has gone into this film, and to mention that as well, I mentioned it a little bit earlier on in this review, is how fun this movie is. And that is what I loved about Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, is that again, it walks that line beautifully between like comedy and tragedy perfectly, and when this film is funny, it is nigh on hilarious. It's just so fun, like over the top, it's charming, and it's really self-aware as well. There is a great little nod to Spider-Man 3 and the symbiote where Tobey Maguire's walking down the street doing this. I really love that in-joke with it, and you can definitely see that they kind of took some influence from Deadpool in this movie. They do break the fourth wall a couple of times, but again, it just works really well, and it is a whole lot of fun. But then to take it back to the seriousness for a second, I just wanted to mention the kind of tribute to Stan Lee that is at the end of this movie. Not only Stan Lee, Steve Ditko as well. It's a really beautiful tribute, and I tell you what, the Stan Lee cameo in this movie, I know it was filmed before he passed, but I tell you what, the words that he speaks are just so like poignant, and are obviously so much more poignant now than they probably should have been. But yeah, that came out of nowhere and really hit me hard, really took me by surprise how kind of how much of an impact Stan Lee's cameo in this movie had on me as well. And yeah, it's great, it really is. It deserves all of the love it's getting, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. As I say, for me, I feel like I would have enjoyed it more if I would have known more about the actual like Spider-Verse itself, but again, that's more of a me issue than the film issue. But I still, to take this film for what it was, I still absolutely loved it and enjoyed it. And the only negative I have about this film is that I did feel like the villains were a little bit of kind of a letdown for me. I thought Doc Ock was really fun and refreshing, but it was more the main villain, Kingpin, that I had issue with in this movie. I just felt like his kind of motives were very weak. I know that he blamed Peter Parker for killing his family, and he wanted to bring his family back, but that was all kind of wrapped up in a kind of 20-second flashback sequence, and it was just kind of never really alluded to again. And I think what really let down the Kingpin story arc is that the rest of the movie was so good, and it did feel more like this was a Miles Morales origin coming of age story, which they executed so well that it was a shame that the Kingpin story kind of fell a little bit by the wayside as well. And again, I just kind of had issue with the fact that Kingpin was like flipping around and kind of keeping up with Miles Morales during that big final battle towards the end. It just kind of didn't feel like the right character for that story, if that makes sense. I think if they'd have delved a little bit deeper into Kingpin's story, it would have worked. But yeah, it just felt a little bit flat for me. Same with Doc Ock. They had this really kind of great twist on the Doc Ock character, and then she's just kind of taken out this story willy-nilly, and I hate to say it, maybe just for a little cheap laugh as well. But it didn't all of those kind of little like niggling negatives I had with this film do not take away from how incredible the overall story of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is. It is incredible, and I urge you guys to go and see it. So if you guys have seen Into the Spider-Verse, let me know what you thought about it, as always, down in those comments below. And if you did enjoy this video and you want to keep up to date with all the latest movie news and reviews, then make sure you hit that subscribe button. And as always, I will see you in the very next episode of The Jamie Hughes Show. Ta-ra! Spider-Man, Spider-Man.